Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
We have about 6 teams here today, Joe. Myself, and of course we got Chris Christensen with his team of blacks. We got Jeff Claypool with his team of blacks. We have Tom Benson with his team of grays. We have Joe Dolby coming in with his team of mules, and just going to have a real good day of having fun. And I said in the paper yesterday that all the weather in the world can't beat the fall colors, and it'll be a lot more comfortable than the 10 below weather at the logging days and that. So that's the reason we decided at this time we don't have the Teamsters available in the wintertime. They're all like me, they're getting older and it becomes a lot of work and that. And I can't stand the cold like I used to. I don't know why, but I can't. But today is going to be one special day. You get up on top of that hill and it's just magnificent. Colors, the beauty of the lakes. You look on one side to the east, and there's a lake there that is only spring fed. It's fed to the Turtle Lake chain, which flows into Lake Bimidji, which flows into the Mississippi, that eventually ends at the Gulf of Mexico. And then to the west of the Continental Divide is Lake Julia. And that flows into Mud River, which flows up through my area, right behind my place, flows up to Redby, Minnesota, comes out in Red Lake, and then from there it flows to the outlet, which goes west to the river, Red River, and that finally ends up in Winnipeg, in Hudson Bay. So you are on the Continental Divide, and so it's very unique. It's the hill that we are taking the people on the tour is the highest natural point of land in Beltrami County. The height of it, as I recall, is approximately 4,200 feet above sea level. And I could be wrong a few hundred feet on it, but that's basically what I tell people. And I've been known to tell stories before.
What do you have here?
I have Molly, my 16-year-old mare, and I have Dot, my 15-year-old mare. They're half sisters, same mothers, different dads. I bought them as a 2 and a 3-year-old. They've been a tremendous team. I have enjoyed them. I do a lot of rides here at the ski hill when it isn't too cold, and the kids just adore them. Last night I had a ride at my place. A family reunion was going on. They called me at the last minute and wanted me to do a wagon ride for them. It wasn't covered wagon or anything. I just had an old wagon with seats on it. And we had 2 loads, and we went out. And then we come back, and then the kids, I even had some 78-year-old ladies climb on and ride on their back. They'd never been on a wagon ride, never been on a horse. Some of them never seen a horse before. And that's my enjoyment. If I can give somebody the enjoyment of touching a horse, or feeling of a horse, or understanding of a horse, that's wonderful. I had 2 other horses in the barn that I raised from Dot, the far right horse. They're just huge. The one is about 2,400 pounds. The other one is about 2,100. And they're just a wonderful team. And a couple of girls got on last night on them, and they said, "My goodness, he's big."
For almost 40 years, Rural Heritage Magazine has helped readers borrow from yesterday to do the work of today. The magazine is packed with stories and information about farming and logging with draft animal power, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. If you or someone you know wants to run a self-sufficient, diversified family farm, or just learn how to make a weekend hobby farm more productive, Rural Heritage Magazine is a smart choice. Articles cover a wide range of interesting and useful topics and are written by people living on the land doing the work they write about. A one-year subscription is $34.95 for 6 issues, 24% off the newsstand price. Sign up for 2 years and save even more. Order online at www.ruralheritage.com or by calling 319-362-3027. That's www.ruralheritage.com or 319-362-3027.
The biggest reader for me on any horse that I've ever owned, watch their ears. They'll tell you, they'll see game before you ever see it. They'll tell you a problem coming up. It's kind of like driving a semi or a truck. You don't wait till you get to the predicament and try to recover it. You plan for it. I mean, if that horse has got or a truck or whatever you got a bad spot in the road, you don't do it. You take care of that problem before you get to it. You can't come up there and dynamite your brakes and stop. No, it's learning to look ahead.
Anticipate.
Yeah. The horses, they were a great thing for the logging industry, but that wasn't the logging industry. The logging industry was people. People that worked hard. You know, they went into the woods in the morning. Well, they used to see, my dad always used to call it, "Hey boys, it's daylight in the swamp." Well, daylight in the swamp meant you better get out there and go to work. And my brother and I, my brother was a year younger than I graduated from high school in 1954, but we cut timber every weekend on the farm. In the wintertime, or in the summertime, we'd cut spruce or popple, and in the wintertime, we'd cut spruce. We'd get up, we'd milk the cows, we milked by hand, we'd done the chores, went in and had breakfast. Then we'd come out and go down to the woods. We'd take an axe and a Swede saw. We'd cut 150 sticks of wood, spruce. Next morning, same repeat. We'd go back out, do chores, come back in, have breakfast, go out and harness up. We only had one horse that we used on a dray. And we skidded that wood up to the yard and piled it up against a tree there. And then the neighbor would come over the next couple of days and he hauled our wood in. That was how we made our spending money to get through high school. The other thing I guess I can talk to you, Joe, about is most people don't have this type of harness. Now, this type of harness is quite famous out east, and you probably haven't heard about it. But it's called a sidebacker harness. Now, if you ever cultivated corn or potatoes or whatever with horses and you stop and tie up for a little bit and the flies and stuff are a little bit serious, the old Martingale style harness where the straps come back from the quarter strap down, they would kick until they got there. I've seen harnesses completely shredded, but this one they can't get their feet into it.
Like the one down there, that's a belly backer.
Yep, that's a belly backer. That's called a Martingales, they call it. Yeah. And but if they're a kicker and that's a little bit loose in the fly, they'll tear that harness, especially a non-broke horse, really.
And so on the sidebacker harness, the team is holding back the load on the sides of their neck yoke.
Yeah, it's just like the other one. They pull against the collar.
Right.
I had that harness made by a fellow down in Park Rapids, Dick Shower, from a working horse harness shop. He done a very nice job. Wasn't bad until the last couple of years. I don't have the upper body strength I used to have, you know,
lifting it up
for lifting and putting it on. Yep. And that's why I don't use the big team, because it's too hard to harness. In that, so yeah, no, the team has been fun. They've been fun. It's helped keep the family together. There's nothing better for keeping children and people happy than to have a team of horses giving rides. When we have our family reunions, we started that in 1990. About every 2 to 4 years we have a family. It's the best babysitting tool there is. Kids get a little fussy. Well, let's go for a wagon ride. So we go for a wagon ride. They're asleep. If Earl Dickinson, who passed away about 8 years ago, my team hauled him to the cemetery. If he's probably watching over us. He would be so proud to see this place cleaned up the way it is, looks so nice, got the sleighs all up in the air, and that I don't know what's going to happen to those. I would like to see something done with them before they deteriorate. These big sleighs, yes. You know, once they deteriorate, then they'll be back in the ground like we found them up by north, and had to put them all back together and that. And they are in good shape yet. There's no, you know, some of them need a couple little bunks on them, but they're heavy. Oh, they're heavy. I can pull them in the winter with the horses, but I can't in the summer. It's just too hard, too heavy. They're not a pulling team. I don't use them for pulling. I use them for joy. I cut hay with them, had them on the grain binder, take them up, they will walk right up to the thrash machine. Cut. I use them in the woods some. They're still horses. They're still an animal. I trust them about as far as I can see, and that ain't very far when I walk away from. No, I don't never say my team are well broke. Yes, they're broke to drive, but they're still animals, and about the time you think they're just perfect, they'll make a, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Aiden. All right, Aiden. We're gonna turn this shoe around. Watch my tong hand. See it drop? My hammer isn't moving, and the horn isn't moving. So I'm gonna use that horn. Bring that right on around. Take another heat on the other half. So a person can make these out of round rod, right? Bend them, punch holes in them, weld if you need to, but back in logging days time, that wouldn't have been the case. A person can make a hammerhead. Take good quality steel, stack it together on itself. Take those molecules of that steel and stack it. So you start with a piece of steel that's X amount long, a foot. You end up with a piece that's 3 inches long. So that steel would be extremely dense then, because you got all those molecules that are a foot long, compressed together and tightened up. And then you bring it up to a good temperature, the appropriate temperature, not too hot, but almost white. And then you would cool it in the appropriate material, whether it be water, or oil, or sand, and then that tempers it. And you can temper it to different degrees. So my rasps have a lot higher carbon content in them. They're a lot more brittle. I can take this and just snap it because of the carbon. They're a lot harder. They're a lot more brittle. The hammers are good and tough. You see all the hammering I've been doing here this morning? My hammer is pretty much like it was when I started. My anvil face is pretty much like it was when we started. But boy, we sure did change a lot of steel, didn't we? So this piece started out a rectangle, and it was 7.5 inches long. Last time I measured it, we were up to 9.25, and it's getting pretty round. We're trying to make a rod out of it. I was going to stop at L&M and just buy some round rod. You know, they buy that from the smelting plant. They make me rod, but well, that wouldn't have been any fun now, would it have? Constantly turning. So, you see, watch my left hand. Hammer stays in the same spot. You all think, boy, that guy can hit really accurately. No, I don't actually move. I hammer in the same spot all the time. Keep my elbow locked into place. And I move the steel underneath of me. There's no way that I can hammer like this across the face of that and do it as accurately. But here I can move it in such small increments that you don't even see the hammer blows. These are things that I know and I'm practicing at. That's why I'm practicing horseshoeing. And I'll be forever practicing, because when it gets old, when it just gets to nailing on a shoe, when it just gets to cutting down some foot, that gets boring. I like to keep improving, practice it. So I can do it better or faster or more accurate or habitually. We'll get some of that slag off of there because that propane is pumping oxygen into that steel. And the steel has some impurities in it. When you heat it up, those impurities come out. See how nice I'm having to hit that? Look at that. Just as nice as you please. I don't have to get out here and really hit that thing. So, Aiden, what kind of horse you got?
What kind of horse you got?
Big horse, little horse?
What do you got? Big one or little one? You gotta tell them. Big or little?
All right. Does he measure 4 3/4 inch wide at his foot? Or is he about 5 1/4? Is he a little bigger boy? Because he ride him him a lot. His foot's big and growing and healthy and strong. 5 1/4? Sounds good to me. Okay. And the reason I ask you that, it's not just to be silly. It's because I like to build a shoe with a purpose. I like to know where I'm going with that steel. If I just built the same shoe every time and put it on every horse, I might as well buy a shoe. So I can't remember your name. How am I going to remember that you wanted 5 1/4? We'll come up here and we'll just cheat. We'll make a little mark there. That one gets rubbed off. We'll make a little mark there. That way I can check my work. And that way when I make my shoe and I get it all flat and cooled off and I go to put it on that horse's foot, it's pretty close. You know, I know it's about 5 1/4 wide and maybe 5 1/2 long. And I don't have to heat it back up to shape it, and then I can, because horses can get impatient, just like we. You ever get impatient with our kids? We do. They do too, so you gotta kind of keep it moving. That's maybe why I talk so much. You know, I'm working as fast as I can with the gas forge, but years ago, that would have been a coal forge, which is sitting right here. We would have had a helper sitting here turning the blower, tending to that fire. Depending on what they're doing, they might need a real big fire. I get some consolation watching the blacksmithing competitions. You can travel all over the world. Canada was featured in that magazine over there. That was a very common place for World Championship blacksmith competition. And you can really take it as far as you want. And you really can with any trade. I didn't think about that when I was your age, Ashton. Now, well, you can either work at my dad's job or maybe a truck driver, race car driver. You know, I didn't think very far, but you can do basically anything you want. If you want to work with computers, you can study computers your whole life. You want to work with wood? There's so many different types of species and things that you can do. You can study that your whole life. No matter what it is. So take this opportunity to give you a little insight on that, because it's something I didn't think about when I was your age. I got a lot of people say they still do that. They still shoe horses? Yes, we still shoe horses.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.